Big Z Reviews. The Outsider is a new HBO TV series that just finished its first season. Like, they might do more, even though it is based on a Stephen King book, and that is a standalone book. Although one of the characters in it is also a crossover from his Mr. Mercedes series trilogy. So, and that character is like one almost the main character in this show, and she is great. But it's kind of funny that there is an also Mr. Mercedes show, and it's not the same character. They're very different, although they're based on the same thing. But as a whole, this series is excellent.
Hey, Terry!
Glory, no. You need to go.
What is he doing with him?
I'm as baffled by this conflicting evidence as you are.
Did you kill my son, Terry? Look at me!
Terry murdered a child. Everything he does after that is like he's begging us to catch him. What kind of criminal does that?
So I have read The Outsider, the book, and I really loved it. It's one of my favorite Stephen King stories I've read. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff in it, and I mean the idea is that it's a kind of like a doppelganger style story, where and then for a lot of it, the series is very true to it. At a certain point, like in kind of 5, 6, 7, 8 episode range, like around there, they extend some stuff, and the actual climax, there's a lot more people there in the climatic scenes, and I think it works well. Like there's a lot more stuff going on, and it makes it a little bigger for the TV show than it was in the book, and I think it works really well. A lot of stuff they do, I really like what they did with this. Like, they're true to the story, but when they wanted to change things, they weren't scared of changing them, and they changed them in interesting ways that worked. Like, it's a really great adaptation of the book. And the idea is that Jason Bateman, he is this like a little league coach, like a really nice guy, dad of 2 beautiful girls and a beautiful wife, and like lived the perfect life, and that there's this and he's also, it's really great. Jason Bateman also directed the first 2 episodes, and he did really good with directing them. They're some of maybe my favorite episodes of the series. Another one, Andrew Bernstein, also, he's the one that directed most. He's 3 of the series. They had other directors do 1 each, but he is this guy, and he. But the problem is that there's this child is murdered and raped, and like there's all the evidence found by Ben Mendelsohn, who is again great. He was like the cop in the small town. Like all the evidence points to Jason Bateman, and so like he arrests him in the middle of the low league game in front of everyone, and it's like, but the problem is that he has a rock solid alibi. So like you can't be in 2 places at once. How can you have 100% DNA fingerprint evidence that he murdered this kid, but then he was like in another state at the time? How do you deal with that? Of course, with Stephen King, there are some other shenanigans surrounding that, and that's like the second half of the season is a lot more with those shenanigans, like El Cuco, and it's really good. I like a lot of what they did, and I mean it's just a really well crafted show, and I mean it's based on an excellent story, and they really adapted it well, and all the actors are excellent. I really like Ben Mendelsohn as a cop that he cannot believe in something that's supernatural, but he understands that something is not right in this case. Like, it's some really interesting stuff, and when things happen, they can be brutal. Like, stuff happens, when shit goes down, it's brutal, and I mean it's like, I didn't find it scary, but I think you could find some stuff a little scary, a little spooky. And I think the biggest difference from the books to the show, other than them adding stuff, the biggest thing is that the doppelganger talks a lot more in the book. Essentially, the one character Jack Hoskins, played by Mark Menchaca, like he is like kind of becomes the agent for the doppelganger, and in the book, the doppelganger talks to him the entire time and tells him things to do. In the show, I know it might have not worked well, but like you don't really, it's just like a force that compels him to do things. But you get to learn a lot more about what this thing might be thinking, and they still have some of the stuff like that towards the end, like but there's a lot more. I think even then, I think they cut some of his dialogue off, and it makes sense because it makes it a little bit more unnatural. Like you don't know exactly what's going on, and I think that works. Like the changes that they do make really work. Cynthia Erivo as Holly Gibney, she is excellent in this. She is amazing in this show. I really loved her character and I love her acting, and she is really good. Like she's really, like it's a little different from the character in the books, but I like what they did with her. And the character in the book is not black. She is, and the Mr. Mercedes TV show is actually Holly Gibney is in that, but she's a white. I think it's kind of ginger-like hair, but like she is. But the character is kind of the same, but a little different, a little stronger, I think. But what they do with it is really great. And I mean, as a whole, this series, I absolutely loved it. Probably give it like a 9.75 out of 10. Like it's one of the best shows, best new TV shows in a while. Like I really loved it, and you gotta check it out if you can. But thanks for watching. Check out the playlist in my head, and subscribe to me, Z over there. Thanks. This has been a Big Z TV show review. Thanks for watching.